You wrote a rather kind-hearted appreciation letter to Nova Scotia's Premier. You were writing to him relative to the efforts he's made to further develop and enhance and improve the flood control system on the isthmus of Chignecto. Is this a personal letter, or is this a letter as Mayor of Amherst?
Well, I'm going to say it's both because, as a citizen of Nova Scotia, I viewed this project as one of those projects like the bridge to Prince Edward Island. It's like one of those major projects that was funded federally, and I just felt personally that, gee, we should be asking the question, you guys should pay for this, not us, sort of thing. And so kudos to the Premier for asking the question. I mean, I see nothing wrong with that. And, I think all Nova Scotians who, okay, there's those that, said just get the project going. But for me, it was more about, okay, this is Nova Scotia. This is a lot of money. So let's sort it out, and we agree it's got to be done. We agree we're going to fund it until we figure out who's really responsible for it. Okay, now we know the courts say what they say, and we're still getting on with it, and we're having meetings to get the planning in place. And I got to say, the planning of this project, this isn't one of those things where okay, we're going to do it, and let's get the the dozers and the backhoes going. There's a lot of planning involved in this project that has to be taken into consideration. And, I wouldn't be surprised we don't see dozers and trucks for 4 years, simply because there are so many elements that have to be considered. So, kudos to the Premier for asking the question. Kudos for going ahead with it, waiting the decision. And so, okay, now we know we're going to get on with it.
And, of course, the fact of the matter is they have been getting on with it, as you call it. Some work has been done. Some remediation work has been done. Some very specific planning work has been done specifically to come up with an alternate route to bypass the flood areas or the areas expected that would be flooded that would take out the Trans-Canada Highway and bypass those and come in via back highway at Tidnish, for example, and be able to work around. So they've identified the alternate routes and the plan B, if you want to call it that. They've already started remediation. They've already started the engineering planning cycles and so on. And they started the work even without having to decide who's going to pay for it. Because they did have an agreement some time ago that the feds would pay 50%, New Brunswick would pay 25%, and Nova Scotia 25%. The Premier said that doesn't seem right. It should be all the federal government, such as the case for a major bridge in Montreal that brought people into the city of Montreal, and the federal government of the day said that's a major artery for Canada. And as a consequence, the federal government paid 100% of that. I forget how many $1 million it was. I think it was a lot more than millions, in fact. But they set the precedent. So the Premier said, let's get on with the work, and they have. And let's try and find out who should pay for this, and they haven't. That doesn't mean that the feds won't end up having to pay for it, but that debate rages on. Now, the reason I give you all that background is because I wonder, when you said you give kudos to the Premier and so on, when the courts came down and said that we're not going to rule on this, our MLA for Cumberland North has made several statements and issued a great press release of sorts saying that here's further proof that the Premier's not doing his job, that he should have been working on the project instead of fighting it out in court, and it's all his fault. He's been dragging his feet. You know, and I know, that is the furthest from the truth. And I took her and challenged her when it came out, and point by point suggested the things she was saying were simply false. And I wondered in the back of my mind if you were answering that same call that she put out, blaming the Premier for a whole bunch of things that are really not in his bailiwick at all.
I wouldn't say that. I would say that we obviously have a difference of opinion on the approach taken and who's I'm one of these half glass full kind of guys, not half empty. I always try to look at least at the positive side of things and look for opportunities for improvement or how we can get things done. And the premier's job is not an easy job. And yeah, there's times when, we all question, oh, how come or why not? But very seldom do we say, you know what, that was the right thing to do. And I'm just saying it was the right thing to do.
Well, I appreciate that, and interesting analysis you gave where you're the glass is half full, and you're hinting perhaps, or at least I'm taking that you're hinting that Elizabeth Smith McGrossin would say her glass is half empty. I would argue that her answer would be that her glass is fully empty, because she finds fault with everything, and all she can do is write a sternly worded letter and rile up the folks and make them angry at the provincial government, and that's been something that's bothered me for a while now, and that's why I was so taken by your response. Now, having said that, I did several interviews with the former mayor, your predecessor as mayor, talking about this project because it came up over different times over the last, say, 4 or 5 years. And in so doing, it was very clear that the mayor's position in Amherst is a very, very important position in terms of the discussion. That your counterpart in Tantramar, the premiers, the members of parliament on both sides of the isthmus, these are all people that would sit down and talk about this. Have you had any discussions on the isthmus since you came back into office?
The only conversations I've had are when I'm working with the group that's doing the planning. I am on that committee, and we've had 2 community engagement opportunities, and it's a wow. It's a wow moment for me because people are bringing up things that oh my goodness, I never even considered that part of this project, and the farmers have some interesting views that they need to be considered as part of certainly the Tantramar area of the lake system. So, I just, I'll tell you, learning a lot from this project just in the initial stages. But as far as political discussions, I've come into it when the decision was practically a go. So I guess my timing was good that way. And I give credit to past Mayor Dave Cogan because he did work on this project and he did speak up on a regular basis and meet with people to keep pressing to get this thing moving as well. So kudos to him as well for what he did while he was mayor.
And again, that's a point to take, is that Mayor Cogan and all the rest of the parties, including Premier Houston, were very, very active on pressing forward with this project and, in fact, came up with the agreement on the cost sharing, the agreement on what needs to be done, and the start of what, as I said, is a 10-year plan, and the work began. And that's what the part that upset me the most is that when she goes around telling people that the Premier's been dragging his feet and holding back the project and getting nothing done, waiting for an announcement from the court, I mean, that's just the furthest thing from the truth. He was really pushing. Mayor Cogan was really pushing. The Member of Parliament was really pushing. Everybody has been doing that. And as you just said, by the time you came into office, the wheels were in motion, the gears were grinding, and things were happening. Now, there's still a lot to be done, and I'm sure that we're going to hear from you voicing concerns, because I look to the news coming out of Mexico with the devastation from the season's first hurricane, that this is hurricane season once again. We don't usually see them until the fall, although it could happen really anytime. But if we're looking at another hurricane coming our way, and as I said earlier, if it happens to hit at the same time as high tide, parts of your community are going to be underwater.
Yeah, exactly. So the sooner the better, isn't that the phrase? Indeed.
And
listen, Bill, I wanted to say though that in defense of MLA Cross and that she is a very hardworking MLA. Some of the points that she brings forward on several files are accurate when it comes to healthcare and hospital operations and things that go on between Pugwash and Amherst, as far as all the networks of healthcare, and so she brings a lot of experience and to the table when it comes to what's going on, and so I don't want to discount that she's just a naysayer. I think that she brings points forward, and for me, it's all about, okay, I get the point, so let's see what we can do about it.
Well, kudos to you then for being kind-hearted. I would take exception to those comments and would happily debate with you on that point because a lot of things she says are entirely self-serving, and she makes the point negatively quite often, makes the point that, if they would only listen to her, things would get done. It doesn't work that way.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah, and we see the vast difference of what's being accomplished in Cumberland South with Tory Rushton on the government side, and it doesn't hurt that he's in the cabinet too, by the way. But in terms of on the Cumberland North side, all she can do is write letters. And she doesn't have the ear of the government. She's alien to the government. She has made her bed and she has to lie in it. And all the things she's done, from my perspective, is to simply draw attention to herself and continue the myth and the sympathy vote that she created when she was ousted from the caucus of the Conservative Party. And she's been able to keep that alive for the last long while, when in fact she really can't accomplish anything.
Well, you know what? Kindness means a lot. So that's the side I like to prefer to take.
Well, and you did, and I thank you for being that kind person in that sense by writing a positive letter to the Premier. And I jokingly said to you, I don't think he gets very many positive letters. Would you agree?
I'm sure he doesn't.
And you wouldn't probably either as mayor. You probably hear all the woes and wants and why didn't you do this? But I would doubt very much that you ever get somebody say, thank you, job well done.
Yeah, well, it comes with the territory.
The territory, right? Exactly. So, I thought you'd say that. Mr. Mayor, a treat to find another side of you, the softer, gentler side of Rob Small. That's quite something.